students reach out to me, and a lot of the times you get messages that are very personal, and they tell you how something you did, something you said, saved them from making a bad mistake. And then there's the other side of it. You don't get as many of them, but you think of them more often. You get messages from kids who are out on their particular ledges. And a lot of the times I feel ineffective because really all I have are the numbers. That's all I can give them, and hope that they make a good choice. And you reach out as much as you can, you do what you can, but sometimes they just disappear, and you don't know what happens. Sometimes you look for them online, and all of a sudden their profile is gone, and you get a message that you didn't realize how ominous it sounded until you read it, that this user no longer exists. And you don't know. And you have to come to terms with that. You have to accept not knowing. And a while ago I was in New York, and I was at a place called Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green is this old sort of, there was a bunch of buildings and it's just covered in graffiti. They've torn it down since, which is a real shame. It was really something to behold. And I was there and I was looking at this one piece of graffiti, and it was a word, but I couldn't understand what it said. I didn't know what it was saying. Just the design of it made it impossible to read. And after a while, the more I looked at it, the more I realized I don't need to know to appreciate the colors, to appreciate the pattern, to appreciate the skill that went into creating it. It's still beautiful, it still has vibrancy, and it still has meaning, and it's going to mean something to someone else. And I've spent the last couple of years in therapy trying to deal with this in particular. In May, it'll be 7 years since I've been off antidepressant medication. Thanks. It is, I know, like, I mean, the instinct is to applaud that kind of thing, but I'll tell you right now, and I appreciate that. I still have a lot of the issues that I deal with, but I feel weird when people applaud it because I don't think there's anything wrong with having been on that medication. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking help. I'm still here because of that. I needed that at the time, and this is not like as composed as I am now. I'm muttering through this. But I wanted to write a piece about my experiences with this, and so I wrote this, and this is called Graffiti. There are stars, now long gone, who threw their last spears of light across an unending darkness, but to us, they will only ever be the stars we see our entire lives. They will never extinguish. If you ever need a reminder of the definition of I don't know, consider that some of the light we see comes from sources that vanished eons ago, which means maybe everything is still exploding. I don't know. Our questions are tough pills to swallow, not exactly chewable vitamins. And yet the confidence in our uncertainty somehow gives us permission to hold one another's sins to each other's noses, like a puppy held to their own shit, like a child's arm to a cigarette. We turn regret into a hobby, doubt into a pastime. All of this while the winds of change dodge each chime and the awful sameness of our pain rings out like a sound we cannot stop hearing. Fearing the worst has become a career option for the brave. Our leaders save themselves the trouble of having to care until the graves dug by mental illness make mercy a platform we're standing on. Take the heart that goes out to us and put it back in your chest. You have work to do. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. Not when there are razor blades so clever that they bluff their way past the security guards of our compassion and cross some wrists like the finish line for a marathon we're too tired to keep running. Not when there are nooses so cunning that they tangle themselves away from usefulness and refuse to become the rope needed to pull us out of this nosedive we are rehearsing for. I want to believe that the sleeping pills on your floor are just dreams you dropped by accident, or nightmares you tried to flush. But I know what they're for. They're for when the insistence of love sounds like a noise you cannot bring yourself to listen to any longer. They're for when you want to unplug the speakers from the stereo to go as silent as 3:42 a.m. when the only thing staring back at you are the stars that might not even be there anymore. Some of us run full force toward a closed door that we come up against like a wall. But others bust through and fall into a room padded with oblivion that time then seals shut forever. We cannot hit rewind on this track. Your song plays only so long as you keep singing it. Without you, we will not know the lyrics. I know you are tired of singing. I know your throat is sore and your voice raw from overuse. I know tomorrow can feel like an abuse you are about to suffer. I know how tempting it can be to want to put a period on the end of this incomplete sentence, because is anybody even reading this? I don't know. But maybe there's a paintbrush that can carve it out better than a blade. Because the things I've seen made from pain are works of art that hang in a gallery displaying sculptures of relief. Maybe when autumn turns a green leaf yellow, its stem becomes a string tightened to a cello playing the song you never knew you loved most. Maybe somewhere there is a ghost wearing silk sheets hoping to haunt the living a little more softly. Maybe some ghost stories are true. Maybe somewhere there is someone who will love you better. I don't know. I'm not certain of any of this. But at times, I take comfort in leaning on the shoulder of I don't know, to rest against the splendor it provides. It promises what could be, never what will be. I don't know if love is a talented enough hound to track down any of us. But it could be. I don't know. Our lives are labyrinths, and I'm lost too. I dance through its dungeons. I stumble through its halls. I vanish while I cry the invisible ink I use to write my mind upon its walls. A lot of the times you're trying to just hold things in so you can get through it. And so you hold a lot of shit back, but tears are weird. Tears reroute themselves through your nose. It's like, all of a sudden you're just like drip, drip, drip. One of the things that I do know is how valuable friendship has become. When you grow up not being included in school, you tend to miss out on developing a lot of the social skills that a lot of other people acquire during that time. And that's been a struggle for me. I have trouble talking to people one-on-one. I can talk to a room full of strangers, and it's okay. One-on-one is a different thing. But friendship has become very valuable to me, and it's taken a long time to learn how to cultivate friendships properly. Because when you don't know how to talk to people, you end up saying the wrong thing a lot. And that can burn bridges, and that can lead to all kinds of confusions. one of the things, I don't think friendship gets celebrated as much as, say, romantic love, but it holds a very important place in our life. A friend is someone you call when life just turns to garbage. A friend can lift you out of those places. Now, friendship is complicated in that you have to be there for the other side of it too, because they're not always going to be able to hold themselves together. And one of the things that I really like about friendship is friends can get away with doing crazy shit, and you kind of love them more for it. You kind of are like, oh, you. And so I wanted to write a piece that celebrates friendship. An example, my friend Paul, who is very dear to me, his first job was as a camp counselor at a summer camp where parents send their kids away for the summer so they can bone. Not the kids, that's poor sentence structure. So romance time is important in a relationship. Parents need space to deal with that, and so they send the kids away. And Paul was saying, like, one of the hardest parts of the job is that getting the kids to go to sleep. You gotta get them to sleep because there's activities the next day, and they can't be zombies for it. You need them awake and alert. But it's hard to get them to go to sleep because they're away from home, they're with a bunch of other kids, they're all hopped up on candy, and they just want to talk all through the night. And it was Paul's turn to go in and get these kids to go to sleep, and he hatched this idea, this wonderful, awful idea. And he went into the cabin right away. The kids were like, oh, because they knew it meant the end of their day, essentially. And he said, no, it's okay, I'm not sending you to bed. I have an announcement and I need to make sure you all hear what I'm about to say. And so all the kids gather around and Paul says, okay, we have a bit of a situation. There is someone in the camp right now who's not supposed to be here. We are out looking for him. We don't want to worry any of you. But what would really help us out is, you know how you guys are yakking all the time, and it's, usually it's fine, but if somebody comes in here with an axe and you guys are always loud, we're not gonna know. We'll have no idea. But if you're quiet and somebody comes in with a spear gun or whatever, and you start yelling, we'll know and we'll come running and it'll be okay. And it worked. It totally worked. All the kids were quiet. And Paul was very proud of himself. And the next day, the head counselor is like, who was working last night trying to get to the bottom of this amazing thing? And Paul, very proudly, is ready to take credit. Suffice it to say, he spent the next couple of days washing all the bed sheets because all the kids had peed themselves because they did not want to get up and go to the outhouse in the middle of the night. They were all terrified. And just, and I know morally or ethically or instinctively there's a part of me that's supposed to be like, oh man, that's really crazy. But there's the other part of me that's like, you're awesome. Anyways, I wrote this about friendship, and this is called Fish. Not that you ever do, but if you ever wonder, your friendship is a hook that you cast into an ocean where I practice drowning. Your love is a lure so brilliant, it makes me bite into the pain. You make the hurt worth enduring. You bring me to the surface and my gills blossom like flowers surrendering to new atmosphere. If it looks like I'm trying to breathe, it's because I'm suffocating on the oxygen you provide. A yawn can look like a scream with the volume turned down, so let my choking on this air look like laughter, because you sure make it feel that way. You are funny. Funny like the fact that you have a self-diagnosed condition that you call back flatulence. The first time I witnessed it, I was struck apart into laughter by an orgasm of joy so ferocious it must have looked like a Care Bear after being gassed up at the dentist's office. You're funny like the fact that you add your own sound effects to the world around you. When the click of a button is not enough, you add boink. I do my best not to wonder what mystifying carnival of noises your lovers must walk through. What perplexing squeals make up the bouquet of your intimacies. You're funny like the fact that you thought Vegas would be a good idea. To go partying amid the never-ending onslaught of blinking lights, despite the fact that you have epilepsy. Funny as hell. But if I ever lost you in that way, or any other, I would feel the departure of your gravity in my life. I would feel the ocean rise up around mountains as if its hunger was promoted to the head of the starvation department. You would be as mist as moonlight. You would fuck with the tides. I would be devastated if one day the lure of you stopped showing up in my ocean. If the beacon that gives me comfort suddenly stopped flashing and the darkness of the water around me thickened into a presence more difficult to swim through. Because you are the someone who annoys me with joy until I wave a white flag to it. You're the reservoir I draw from when life requires strength, which is just a little over all the time. You accept the weirdness in me like I am giving you a snow globe. You don't know where the fuck you're gonna put it? Somebody has a snow globe collection. But you know that I've been put in junk drawers before. You know that I've been neighbors with orphan beams of staples that want nothing more than to keep it together, whatever it happens to be. So you make space for me in your life. You keep me on display at your kitchen table. Granted, I am still surrounded by junk. But we often hold strange communion there, in the heart of your peculiar palace. We play racquetball with ideas and we do not go easy. Even on the nights when your back flatulence is acting up. We get right into the bruises of it. We open the wound as if unpacking a delicacy and we go through it together, learning to eat our pain with these strange utensils we call hearts. There are parts of us that even the greedy hands of clocks cannot touch. Even the circadian nature of decay can only serve to amplify its shine. My memories of you are stored in the cellar of my attic like a vintage wine. Old quilts of fine dust camouflage the gleam beneath, but a light white polishes away the time, and the glass begins to look like a jewel I cannot bring myself to part with. You are priceless. The fangs of temptation will be stopped at the gates of how much you mean to me. I will never gamble with the ruby in your chest. You are my friend. You are valued so far beyond appraisal that the concept of any other kind of wealth becomes gibberish to me. And when you hurt, I want to touch the part of you that aches. Boink. Because when my despair becomes Leviathan, when the small hooks won't suffice and breath turns to dread, the instant I become a sunken ship, you raise me from ruin. You cast anchors instead.